Hello world! Excuse me. And welcome, I'm Jojo, and today we are exploring some ideas and concepts on the internet. I know, it's my favorite thing to do, just scrolling around and giving my opinion, inserting it left and right when nobody asked for it, but I don't care. Anywho, this guy is about to explain the 3 most deadly logical fallacies. Let's hear what he has to say. I don't know too much about this topic, so I'm gonna just try and understand and grasp what he's saying. You can join along and correct me when I'm wrong, or if you have your own opinions.
These are the top 3 most deadly logical fallacies.
Ooh,
and this is how I define a deadly
Wait. What did he say? It says, a deadly fallacy encompasses a group of fallacies unified by the fact that they are both exceptionally difficult to recognize to the point that the individual is unaware of its influence. Yikes. Okay. While simultaneously having a profound effect on distorting the perception and decision-making process of that individual. Wow. All right. So, what's a fallacy then? If a deadly fallacy is a group of fallacies that have these characteristics, then what's a fallacy? I'm gonna check. Hold on. A mistaken belief, especially one based on unsound arguments. The notion that the camera never lies is a fallacy. Well, yeah, because anybody can manipulate camera footage. Misconception, mistaken belief, misbelief, delusion. A failure in reasoning, which renders an argument invalid. Faulty reasoning, misleading or unsound argument. The potential for fallacy which lies behind the notion of self-esteem. Well, what do people also ask? Fallacy in a simple term. A fallacy is an illogical step in the formulation of an argument. An argument in academic writing is essentially a conclusion or claim, with assumptions or reasons to support that claim. Assumptions? So if it requires an assumption, it's a thing that is accepted as true or certain to happen without proof. So things that are accepted as true or as certain to happen without proof, like eventually it will rain, because of course the weather is going to change. Eventually summer will come. After winter comes spring, I guess would be an assumption that even though it hasn't happened yet, because we have history of it, that it would be then taken as assumption or assumed that it will be. The action of taking on power or responsibility. That's interesting. Does fallacy mean mistake? Fallacies are mistakes of reasoning, as opposed to making mistakes that are of factual nature. What is an example of a fallacy statement? People have been trying for centuries to prove that God exists, but no one has yet been able to prove it. Therefore, God does not exist. Here's an opposing argument that commits the same fallacy. People have been trying for years to prove that God does not exist, but no one has been able to prove it. Here's an opposing argument that commits the same fallacy. One bad argument to counteract another bad argument. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's go back to this video now that I kind of understand what this concept is. Is fallacy good or bad? Of course. When would it ever be good if this is what everybody is defining it as? Logical fallacies are harmful because they systematically undermine truthful, reliable reasoning and decision-making. They distort how conclusions are reached, hide weak or unsupportive claims, and make persuasion appear stronger than the underlying evidence warrants. Okay, so the idea that emotions trump logic, or that facts and clear, true statements are not as important as persuading. So you can just lie. So when you do fallacies, it's not just a mistake. It can be just clearly and flatly lying. That's scary. I hope, well, I'm sure that there are some bad actors. I just hope that the majority are committing them by mistake and not actually maliciously creating these fallacy arguments to manipulate people. But you know how I feel about people. People in power in particular. But anybody trying to sway me into an idea, you better have a pretty good logical backing for it. So I guess that's why I don't really know too much about fallacies, because if it doesn't make logical sense, I don't really care. Like, I know it's bad, maybe. I don't know. If emotions trump logic, then we're all doomed. Let's go back to the videos. So he said this is what he defines as a deadly fallacy. Now that we know what a fallacy is, and we can now understand what a deadly fallacy is. It's a fallacy that's even more dastardly because it is more efficient or more effective, I guess, because it's more difficult to recognize it and has a profound effect on distorting the perception. I think that's what all fallacies try to attempt. I don't know. Actually, I don't know, because it sounds like there's a lot of them categorically. I guess we'll find out at least 3 of them.
Fallacy, which basically makes them mind control. Number 1, the straw man.
Oh my gosh. Mind control? Well, I guess if you just talk about like manipulation and propaganda, those are forms of mind control. You know, mental abuse is mind control. If you convince your abused victim that they should stay and stuff like that. That sort of thing. If you can get a person to be on board with their own sabotage, then yeah, I guess that would be considered mind control. When someone takes your argument, picks out a weak point, that's a straw man. So you have an argument and someone picks out the weak point.
Someone takes your argument, picks out a single weak point, and attacks that instead of your main argument.
Oh, well, in that case, you just say less. Like, straw man argument sounds like it would be pretty weak if you just stick with the facts and don't elaborate on anything and don't assume anything. You know, assumptions, I guess, are okay, but at the same time, we all know that jingle, right? When you assume, it makes an what out of you and me? Like, how do you spell assume? Stick to the facts, stick with what you know. Anything you don't know, just leave it out of the argument. And if they try to bring that point up, then just state you don't know. It's a fine to not know the answers to things, guys. Like, you don't need to always have a direct answer. In fact, honesty always trumps manipulation and lies, in my opinion. Something I learned in high school from a teacher I really respected was that he would ask us questions, and if we didn't know the answer, we were to respond with, "I do not know, sir, but I will find the answer and get back to you." And if we said that, we wouldn't get marked wrong with our tests or anything. Like, he would give us the opportunity, up to a couple days, depending on how difficult the question was, to go and find the answer. Whatever resources we needed to get, whoever we needed to ask, he would give us the opportunity to go find the answer and then tell him, and then he would score us based off of that. Because not knowing the answer yourself doesn't disqualify what you think just because, you know, you're missing some parts. Go and get your answers. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. Straw man arguments, you know, avoiding what the other person might be wrong about. Like, let's say I say that turnips grow in the winter, but then someone from somewhere else says, well, no, I grow turnips in the summer, so you're wrong. And you shouldn't grow turnips in the winter because you're wrong about the summer thing. I'm like, well, no, they still grow in the winter. I just didn't know they grew in the summer too, wherever you live. That's interesting and good to know. But it doesn't disqualify the fact that you can still grow turnips in the winter. I don't know. That's a pretty terrible example, but I'm flying by the seam of my pants over here. I don't know. Number 2, fallacy of fear.
Number 2, the fallacy of fear, which works by creating support for an idea by eliciting fear in the listener.
Creating support for an idea by eliciting fear in the listener. Oh, because that's just like plain propaganda. The Nazis drew pictures of Jewish people as literal rats, like humanoid rats, stealing things and causing problems, and they plaster that everywhere, and it's like, watch out, they'll get you in the night or whatever. Like, but people make the boogeyman about everything. Like, anytime people collectively get together, they find things in common, and then they find something outside of them to basically work against. It sucks that it's that way, but it's true. Like, look at Democrats and Republicans fighting each other, or football teams. You have football teams against each other, schools against each other, school rivalries. Even though there's nothing really that separates us too much, but if you create enough fearful propaganda against them, then yeah, you can sway the minds of people to just not care.
Very effective. Better safe than sorry. Hey, buddy, that's an error in reasoning. And number 3, the God of the gaps.
Better safe than sorry is an error in reason. That's a funny. Okay, I'll stop using that phrase. Better safe than sorry. Number 3, the God of the gaps. Ooh, that's a cool illustration.
It works by finding a gap in our understanding and then exploiting it by filling it with whatever is convenient to their argument.
Finding holes in somebody's argument. Somebody, like if you have a hole in your theory or belief, then it's free to be inserted with anything else. That's why it's important to be firm in what you believe in.
Sometimes that can be superstition stuff. This is an extra deadly fallacy because since we can't disprove superstition, because we can't prove a negative, then it takes the form of a paradox.
Yeah, so that makes so much sense. Then, yeah, I don't subscribe to a lot of different ideas. We can't disprove a negative. He's right. So it does create a paradoxical argument where you can't, he says it's impervious to critique, but it's not because it's, where are those ideas coming from? I guess the pushback would be, if you're going to fill the gaps of my ideas or my beliefs or what I think I know, then I want to know the full picture. You can't just take my ideas and insert whatever shape, insert whatever you want into my ideas. What you're going to have to do is lay out your whole idea with that included and not have any holes in it. Like, you can't have holes in your own argument and then tell me that I'm wrong because I have holes in my argument. That just doesn't work. And it, the foundationally, usually beliefs and theories and ideas that people live by, their morals or values and what they believe to be true, is stacked on a bunch of other things. So you can't just come in after somebody has created a mountain of their own anecdotal evidence and like belief structures and advice from others and research, and then climb their ladder to insert your own ideas into it. That just doesn't fit. And even if it does fit, it doesn't dismantle the entire mountain of research and knowledge and wisdom and cultivated information that a person has created up until that point. If their beliefs and ideas are so flim-flammy and weak that one insertion of an idea slotted in, then they didn't really have much to believe in anyway. An analogy would be like a Jenga tower, right? If I had all of my Jenga pieces inserted in, and each Jenga piece is an idea or belief or structure that creates the whole foundation of what I know to be true and believe to be true, if you take one out because you try and quote-unquote disprove it, it's not going to fall. Not unless I have so many holes in my belief and my ideas that one can make it tumble. So just do your research and due diligence and actually know who you are and what you believe in and why. Like, do your research, really question things. The Bible tells us to question, don't just take things blindly, and to be deep into God's word and do your research. Like, they tell you over and over again to not forget, and look back. And I think that should be done with all things in life, not just, theologically speaking, with everything. Like, don't just blindly believe in things. Do your due diligence and research in all things, and you won't be susceptible to these types of tactics. Simple as that. Even though it might not be as simple as that, But anyway, that's what I think.
Which is basically impervious to critique. Now that's a deadly fallacy.
That's the gaps, the God of gaps. Framing logic. That's pretty cool. Talking about the God of gaps. Okay. That was interesting. Speedrunning logical fallacies while fighting with my girlfriend. Ad hominem, appeal to authority, appeal to ignorance, appeal to emotion, bandwagon fallacy, begging the question, cherry picking, false dilemma, hasty generalization, red herring, slippery slope, and I can't read the last one. Maybe it's straw man, huh? Okay.
I do not appreciate it when you make fun of me in front of my friends.
Well, you're really emotional right now. Maybe we should, table this conversation.
I don't like it when you make fun of me in front of my friends. Why would you do that to begin with? That's so rude. I mean, if it's playful teasing and you guys have that type of, banter, then that's one thing. But if you're, really making fun of her and putting her down in front of her friends, that just makes her friends hate you more. So why would you do that? But okay, it doesn't matter. He says this is
I'm not emotional. I'm just trying to tell you.
What's an ad hominem? So he says that she's being emotional. I don't know what that is. Ad hominem, attacking the person. This fallacy occurs when, instead of addressing someone's argument or position, you irrelevantly attack the person or some aspect of that person who is making the argument. The fallacy attack can also be directed to membership in a group or institution. I don't know. I guess I could see what he's saying, but at the same time, it depends. That's very anecdotal. I have I have depression, and sometimes it kicks in and I can't stop it. So I just let my husband know ahead of time, hey, I'm feeling really depressed, so if I come off as being standoffish or rude or sensitive, it's not you. It's just my emotions, and I need to, take care of myself at this moment. And he's fine with that. So, yeah, maybe she is being emotional right now, and you shouldn't fight or have an argument or discussion when you're angry or emotional, because it just derails everything, and it creates a victimizer and a victim. And I just think that speaking emotionally to each other when you're upset is only going to make things worse, because your emotions will make what you're saying illogical. And whatever. So maybe there's other versions of ad hominems I would feel more comfortable with, but this guy's kind of dumb. I'm just going to skip him.
Logical fallacies show up all the time in arguments to manipulate people's viewpoints. Let's break down 3 common ones you've probably seen. First is the ad hominem. This is where, instead of addressing the argument, someone attacks the other opinion with insults or name calling.
Ad hominem. So ad hominem, instead of addressing the argument that is being taken place, you ignore it and try to discredit or dehumanize the person making the argument. That just kind of tells me that the person doing that is obviously wrong. Or they know that they have no real argument against whatever the person is saying. Or they're so emotionally driven that they can't think correctly or logically about what has just been said. There's a lot of reasons not to listen to a person who name calls and insults and critiques the person themselves instead of the argument the person is speaking. It's kind of like discrediting art because you dislike the artist. And there are people doing that right now with J.K. Rowling. But at the same time, John Lennon is still loved, and he was quite the work. So it's I can disconnect the person from the argument. I can give credit where credit is due, and I can believe that God can work through any person. He could speak through anyone. He used Nebuchadnezzar with the book of Daniel to prophesy. He used the Pharaoh to help free his slaves. And even good people, quote unquote good people in the Bible were pretty diabolical, and God still used them. So if there's truth being spoken through the mouthpiece of a donkey, I'm still gonna listen. You know what I mean? If truth and honesty is coming out of that person, then that's truth and honesty coming out of the person. The actions a person takes before and after doesn't negate the fact that what he said in the moment was true. So I don't think it would be logical. I think it would be a hindrance, and it would be purposefully making myself naive to the concepts and ideas and making myself ignorant on purpose to ignore truth wherever it can be found. And I don't discredit people just because I don't agree with other things that they say or do. I can personally do that. I don't know about other people. Tribalism is something that never strikes me as something that I want to be a part of. People grouping together to then other people, to discredit other people. Grouping together is great. I love a good social group. But at the same time, if you are grouping together to then hate, destroy, manipulate, and sow chaos in another group because why? You don't like them for some reason? I don't know. Anyway, no name calling. I think that's dumb. And anytime anybody does that, it honestly just shuts me off anyway. So good to know this has a name, ad hominem. If someone starts arguing a point and another person ignores the point completely and just starts name bashing and calling and changing the subject by discrediting the person, by dehumanizing a person, then I know that whatever they thought was probably wrong or illogical or not well researched. They don't know themselves. They have a rocky foundation and they don't believe in what they actually say they believe in. So I would work on not doing that to actually make your point seem more valid. Anyway.
Scroll through any comment section. You'll see it everywhere. Second is the straw man. This happens when someone misrepresents their opponent's argument to make it easier to attack. It's like arguing against a version of the argument that doesn't even exist. Last is the hasty
That's we already learned about that one. Hasty
generalization. This is when someone jumps to a conclusion about a whole group based on just...
Hasty generalization is jumping to a conclusion of a whole group. Wow, where have I seen that one be done before?
One or two small examples. Comment below a time.
Yeah. So, hasty generalization. I see that all the time. Like, before I was a Christian, I did it myself. But anecdotal evidence, yes, is personal and affects you and maybe even in your immediate area. But in general, you just can't generalize an entire group. That would be like me saying that every 5-year-old should know how to spell and write and do math because I have cousins that can do that at 5. And I have so many cousins that can do that it just seems like everyone in general should be able to do that at 5. And that's just stupid. You know? So that is dumb. Like saying all homeschool children are weird and all public school children grow up socially perfect because they weren't homeschooled. Like, that's not true. We know how many public school students who just grow up thinking they're awkward and weird and not misunderstood. So, like, yeah, that's not... It's the same type of idea. The hasty generalization is just stupid. I would want more evidence and proof and more, maybe statistics. I don't know, depending on where the statistics come and what stipulations and qualifications were required under those statistics. Okay, 3 common fallacies. Ad hominem, when you attack someone instead of the argument. Straw man, when you insert fake things into an argument to then fight that fake thing. And hasty generalization, when you group everyone together as a people group to basically blanket the whole thing and like wash everybody out. Blah! Well, that's like saying every leftist is a terrorist and every conservative is a Trump lover. That's so dumb. But, you know, there are some people who believe that generalization. It's just easier on the brain, I guess.
You're in a heated debate. Suddenly someone says, if you don't agree, you must hate freedom. Wait, did you catch that? That's a logical fallacy in action.
That's like the Gavin Newsom thing I was talking about before, where he said anti-wokeness is anti-black. What a silly idea. Yeah, that's dumb. So it's a fallacy.
Here's how to spot these mental traps like a pro. Imagine arguments are like a game of building blocks. Each claim is a block. A fallacy is like slipping in a block made of jelly. It looks solid, but the whole tower wobbles and might even fall.
This is way too serious with the creepy background nursery music. And this guy's deep voice is on a whole other level.
Take the straw man. That's when someone twists your
We
word.
already know about
None
the
of the
straw
staff
man.
have received raises in over a year, yet you, the CEO, just raised your own salary by $1 million. We believe the staff should receive raises too. Of course, you...
Okay, let's just hear what it has to say first, because so far I got, you started a company, you pay for all these things, you built it up, and now you gave yourself a raise. But we deserve a raise because you got a raise. Okay, what does the boss say, Scoff? Of course you would say that.
You would say that. You're always acting like you can speak on behalf of everybody and like you're their savior. What? No, I don't. I don't think that at all. Why are you attacking me? I'm just... an ad hominem attack. What? Oh, He's using an ad hominem attack. It's when somebody doesn't have a response to the actual argument, so instead, they just attack the person who made it. Oh yeah, that is what he's doing. Well, how do I respond? Oh, just stick to the topic. Don't get sucked into their trap. They're just trying to distract you. Okay. You've added $1 million to your annual salary, and yet our engineers are leaving because they're being underpaid. And you're okay with this. Again, with the savior complex, people can speak for themselves. You're so condescending. You can try to attack me all you want. It does nothing. I will go inform the staff that they are not receiving raises, and I will let you know how people react. Talk soon. Wait. Gorgeous. You got this. And follow for more. None of the staff have received raises in over a year, yet you...
So yeah, okay. I can see how this can be used. A CEO raising his salary and not raising the salary of anybody else is pretty poopy. A CEO raising his salary significantly more than everybody else is not that big of a deal to me, I guess, because it's just how their company works. In America, you can go be an entrepreneur and open up your own business if you really want to get paid a very certain way. Also, like overhead and all the other employees beneath you still need to get paid. And that has to be weighted to be fair in the sense of, supply and demand, how lucrative and how demanding positions are. Like, not demanding as in how much it takes from you, but demanding as in how much the company needs it. So there are a lot of jobs where people have this type of sentiment where they don't agree with people raising salaries for higher ups because they're not getting paid nearly as much. But it's all about supply and demand, and your job isn't as lucrative, so then you don't get paid as much. They just need to everyone gets paid the bare minimum to keep operations running, and the people in charge can dictate how much they get paid and how much anybody else gets paid. And if there is a market for people to work at the wages that are set, then they'll succeed. And if there isn't, they will adjust accordingly, or, the company will fail. And that's fine, at least in true capitalism. If there weren't any bailouts and it was easier for small businesses to have more competition. So, like, in a perfect world, I have an opinion that is, this doesn't matter. But since I don't live in a perfect world, yeah, that kind of sucks. And I'm glad that, there are people that are learning this to, truly argue their point. And it would behoove everybody on both sides to stick to the truth and honesty and stay away from fallacies. Of course, this is just a skit to kind of get clicks. So of course they're going to be anti-corporation and anti-wealth and anti-CEO because that's what's trending right now. It's like, yeah, I could see this being very useful as long as you're aware of it. My husband learned all of this as a child, and he read that fallacy detective book, and I never did. Thank you, Californian public schools.
A logical fallacy is a flaw in reasoning that tends to weaken an argument. It's kind of like a way to trick someone into believing your argument is valid, even if it's not. They can be used intentionally and unintentionally. You can find them a lot in politics, advertising, social media, news, and everyday conversation.
Wow. Logical fallacy is a flaw in reasoning that weakens an argument. Leads to false or misleading conclusion. It kind of makes me feel like they're doing it on purpose then. Used intentionally or unintentionally, I guess you can't really prove that they're doing it on purpose if they say they're not. But, come on. You could tell. You could almost always tell when somebody's doing it on purpose because they're doing it without listening. Anybody who tries to argue with you doesn't want to address the actual argument because they don't want to listen anyway. Like, they're never going to believe what you have to say. They never actually want to hear what you have to say. They're just trying to convince you of something or convince themselves of something. They're not listening and they don't care. So just ignore it, stop the conversation, or just suffer. Where can you find it? In politics, advertising, social media, news, everyday conversation. Yeah, absolutely. Which is why you should always take everything with a grain of salt. Never just put all your eggs in one basket. Always try to diversify where you get your information and do your own due diligence and research, and don't rely on the benevolence of strangers, because usually strangers aren't that benevolent, especially on the internet. or politics or advertisement, they're all trying to manipulate you. So if you don't grasp that, then you're doomed.
Knowing how to pinpoint common logical fallacies can help you avoid being misled in debates, arguments, and discussions. It can help you evaluate information in the media, and it can help you make stronger arguments. I'm gonna move for a screenshot.
Mana mana. Mana mana. Mana mana.
Mana mana. Oh my gosh, how funny is that? She went out, she stood up crying, because, you know, that's how babies get your attention. And she was already there. Oh. There's just something so sweet about babies. Well, I mean, they're innocent and cute and fudgy and pudgy and vulnerable and need love and protection. Look how cute they are. Little smudge balls, little smooshy babies.
The top 5 places to live in Ireland have been revealed. Hang on now a second. What the fuck is that? That's not the fucking Irish flag. That is the Ivory Coast flag. People died for this fucking flag, and they didn't use their dying breath to say, by the way, I don't mind what way around you put the colours on the flag, it's just an idea.
People died for that flag. I don't care what order you put the colors in, it's just an idea. That's so funny. Oh, okay.
And we have an update from last week's story of the guy who lit the woman on fire on the subway in Chicago. We said he was arrested 59 times. He was actually arrested 72 times. And
what? What? I don't want to look.
F never did.
What?
Happy never did.
Wow. That is indications of a recession, if I have ever seen one. Well, at least you don't have to worry about cleaning up afterwards. Easy teardown. I bet you it still costs her like at least $10. There was a bunch of jumping that happened between those two things, and honestly, I don't see the problem with either one. The other one just looks like a different kind of style and technique, you know? And I don't know, depending on the lighting, you might need it darker. There's a lot. Did you see the jumps that was kind of in the middle? We're not gonna go into that, but yeah, I see the difference in coloring is really cool, but this is just a different technique style. It's whatever. And you saw that jump there, and there's gonna be another jump here. You get the kneecap. Oh, there it goes. It shifted, it changed. You didn't see that transition. But yeah, okay. Yeah, we use multiple colors. That's cool, but I don't know. That's whatever. Draw the way you want. How to understand women? I have no idea! Oh my gosh. How to understand women? You have no idea. Yeah, that's so true. Women are, women confuse themselves. Good luck understanding. When the species themselves don't understand.
Facebook got busted because once you give Facebook access to your phone, they have access to the camera and everything. Facebook got caught. They could tell when it was a female. They could tell every time she took a selfie multiple times and deleted it. They would bombard them with makeup and beauty ads. They're like, oh, if she deleted.
Wow, that's insidious, but also good marketing. Like, yeah, obviously this woman is vain enough to want to take pictures to upload it online. Like, not that, you know, vanity isn't good, but I don't know. Being vain doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you are very into how you look, and you are self-conscious, and you care about how people perceive you. The more you emphasize it takes over, dominates you, then yeah, it's a problem. But some vanity, everyone has a little bit of vanity in them, you know? So Makes sense.
17 selfies. Obviously, she's self-conscious about her looks. Let's bombard her with makeup ads.
See, you're saying that she's self-conscious about her looks because she took 17 selfies? She's obsessed with her look, is what you mean to say. Like, people who take that many selfies and uploads them, you know, you take 50 selfies and upload 17. That's still a lot of pictures of yourself that you're just idolizing and throwing out on the internet for people to judge. And you're willingly wanting that because you're seeking out attention and affection from strangers. Probably because there's some gaps and holes in your own life, most likely. But I think that's smart. Like, yeah, obviously these women who do that are going to want to look a certain way. And one of the ways to achieve that is through makeup. I don't think it's the right approach. I think Facebook is very, like, underhanded, and hiding things is never good. But if it's, like, out there in the open and it's like, hey, we're going to advertise to you based off of your habits, then it makes sense. Like, okay, these women probably would have bought makeup anyway. Might as well advertise to them because they're probably going out to Sephora and Ulta and all these other shops to get makeup so they can do more selfies. You want to do more selfies? Here's some makeup. You know? Like, I don't know. You want to do selfies and look super hot and be very particular in how you look, you're probably going to be more interested in makeup. I don't think it has anything to do with self-image, like having low self-esteem or like being self-conscious. Instead, what I think it is that it's just a preference. Like, some women have a preference to makeup and some prefer not to have makeup. Some people take a million selfies and never wear makeup. Some people take no selfies and live to wear makeup every day. But the odds are, like, according to the algorithm and the way people shop and habits and everything, the people that do all those selfies and delete them and then, you know, really pick and choose which ones they have, and they want to make sure they get a bunch of likes, they're probably going to aim towards makeup. And it doesn't make any sense not to advertise that to them. Like, why would we try and sell them, you know, like sweatpants and camo or whatever, beef jerky or something, if they're not interested in it? Then they're not going to be really engaged, because you got to have advertisement to pay for the site overhead and everything. Advertisement is like a big chunk of every social media platform. So if you need the advertisement, it would make sense to advertise to the type of people that you would get the most profit from, right? I don't know. I don't agree with it, but I also don't think it's as insidious as people are trying to make it. Anyway, whatever. Let's keep going.
3, 2, 1, action. No, cut. You were supposed to bite his neck. Do it right next time. Start over. 3, 2, 1, action. Perfect. 3, 2.
That's so funny. So what a lot of people don't understand about documentaries is that it's supposed to be factual, but it's usually opinion based. So there's usually an agenda, an idea, some type of, it's usually all propaganda. So documentaries will, for the most part, be treated as if it's factual, and there will be truthfulness to it. There will be facts embedded, but there's extreme bias in documentaries. There's always some type of messaging or agenda being pushed, and everything is framed in a way to manipulate the viewer into agreeing with the filmmaker's opinion. Documentaries are more like opinion pieces using factual evidence to justify your opinion, but usually never really goes both ways with it. Like, it doesn't have a lot of pushback. Like, if a filmmaker is trying to push some type of idea about global warming, about health, about animals, about wildlife, about whatever that is that they're documenting about, they will leave out criticism. They will leave out any theory or thoughts that would contradict them. Or they make stories up, now that I know the word fallacy, they will make fallacies, like strawman fallacies, or like arguments that weren't real to justify why they're right. There's just using weak arguments against them, but never any strong arguments against them. That's like most documentaries, and that's why, like, I watch documentaries, I love them, but always with a grain of salt. You always have to assume that there's an agenda, there's an opinion being pushed, and whatever information they offer should still be researched on further. It should be an introduction to a topic, not the end all of a topic, in my opinion. But that's just me and the way I understand documentaries. They're expected to be based on factual information, but it can depend on the filmmaker and the production and the region, how rigorously they fact-checked everything, and if they actually have pushback, like if they purposely push against their own ideas, like do they actually use the scientific method to prove their point? Don't get me wrong, I think documentaries can be really fun. They can be entertaining, they can be informative, they can be very useful for your own arguments. If you believe in an idea and you want some more backing in what you believe in, or you want more foundational structure in what you believe, then yeah, sure, watch a few documentaries, but still you can't stop it there. You have to do further research, or else you're not getting a full answer, just getting someone's biased opinion. It can have factual resources, but if you're not searching those factual resources yourself and then trying to prove those wrong, you got to resist like the idea that what you think is always right. You have to try and prove yourself wrong to strengthen your argument of why you're right. And a lot of times documentaries don't do that. So it just tells me that there is some type of agenda or propaganda or opinion that's being pushed. So just don't blindly believe something just because it's in a documentary. Just like you don't blindly believe something because it's in the news. Why would you? Just because, yeah, they're factual, but you can always twist and manipulate facts to, better your argument. And the same thing goes for documentaries. So take everything with a grain of salt. This guy is so funny. He says it basically in the most hilarious way. Like, the truth. It's so real. 100% real. What does anybody have to say? He doesn't get paid enough. The tiger's face is telling he doesn't get paid enough. Dude, I'm dead.
When this priest was blessing everyone in the church, he noticed the person filming him, and what he did next was totally unexpected. When this priest was blessing everyone in the church, he noticed...
That's funny. You should have a little bit of playfulness with God. He says, come to me as children, as like in the spirit of a child. You should be sweet, naive, and full of joy, like curiosity and love for God. And this guy, he knows how to play along. What a trooper.
So from the mount, you're sitting on
baseball choke.
You want to squeeze up?
I left my home to join the army.
Wow, what a campaign. Just put that all over the internet. That's a quick way to get a lot of recruitments. Like, yeah, you want to get straddled by a woman? Join the army. Just out of context, this would be something completely different.
Panda Express, if you show up 15 minutes before closing, give you discounted food. Or you would be able to get multiple meals for the price of one. Because
That's not true. Don't listen to him. That's a lie. Okay? Work there through high school. At closing, everything goes in the trash. Employees cannot take it. A lot of restaurants will donate food to shelters, especially if they're packaged food. That's not a thing. Don't try it. I mean, you can, and maybe you can convince an employee to break the rules, possibly get them fired, but don't do it. It's not worth it. And it's a lie. Panda Express, along with most restaurant chains, do not allow the employees to do this, and if they get caught, they can get in a lot of trouble. And I wouldn't want to be the person that gets, a teenager fired from their first job, or, a mom trying to help make a second income, or anything like that. Like, I don't want to make a person lose their job just because I'm greedy and gluttonous and want more food than what they're saying we should be paying for. Just don't do it. Don't do it. If you do it, you're just harassing them. And a lot of times people are timid and scared and fearful, and they'll give in to peer pressure. And all that's going to do is put them in hot water while you get to make some clickbait on the internet. Don't do it. It's so rude. If you don't like it, then convince the restaurant to join a food bank. Like I said earlier, there are restaurants and fast food places that are part of local food banks that will give their food over. If you want to not waste food, do it that way. But like they give them to shelters and stuff. I'm not gonna be advocating this behavior. I say don't do it, because that's just rude and potentially damaging to the person's career. No matter how much it sucks to see all that go to waste, most businesses have about like 8% of shrinkage or waste allocated to them every day. So they purposely overstock to make sure that they don't run out. So that way, and it's like all done through profit margins. So they know how much they are expected to lose each day, and they put that into the equation. And they don't allow people just to take a bunch of food at the last 15 minutes, because then it would advocate a bunch of people not coming into the restaurant at normal times and just hoarding and waiting at the end of the day, and they would actually lose profit that way. So like, just don't do it. Don't do it. That's so rude. It's so messed up, and it's so greedy. It's so gluttonous, so selfish, that type of behavior. And I'm speaking from experience, because I used to be a server at restaurants and fast food places like this, and we would get harassed by people, and I would have little teenage girls crying in the back because people were trying to film them and trying to assault them and spit on them because we wouldn't give them free things or do secret stuff that they found online. And it's just like, having to deal with that's a headache. Don't be a jerk. Be kind. Rewind, and don't steal food. The end. And that is stealing food, by the way. If you are taking from their profits because you refuse to purchase anything until the last 15 seconds or 15 minutes because you think you'll get something better, that's stealing. So, like, and it goes into it goes into their budget, which goes into their labor. So you doing this will also cut people's hours and make it worse for those workers who are saying that they're underpaid and, don't get enough hours or work, because you guys keep trying to cut corners and mess up the system, which then prevents people from getting paid because payroll is too high, because they're not making the money that they think they're supposed to be making, because people are trying to steal food at the end of the night. So my rant's over. Don't do it. It's garbage. It's hot garbage. Stop trying to steal from companies, because everything is put into the books and margined out, and all you're doing is hurting the lowest people in the totem pole, which are the minimum wage employees that you harass to get free stuff and say, it's the faceless corporation I'm attacking. No, you're attacking mothers, teenagers, people trying to rehabilitate their life. Anybody who wants to work there, like all those little low-level employees, you're messing them up. You're not messing up the big corporation. You're messing up the individual people that you're trying to say, quote unquote, I'm for the people, blah, blah, blah. So get over yourself, kid, and move on.
After this girl got fired from Starbucks, she decided to get revenge by sharing their recipes, and you won't believe how it turned out.
I worked for Starbucks for 4 years, and then they fired me, so I'm going to show you how to make the sugar cookie latte at home so you don't have to give Starbucks your money. 1.5 cups of brown sugar, 1 cup of water, mix it together until the sugar dissolves, and then put it on the stove. Boil it for like 5 to 10 minutes or until it starts to thicken, but make sure you keep stirring it. To make it sugar cookie, I'm going to add 3 teaspoons of vanilla and 2 teaspoons.
So that's not the real recipe, and from the copycat website, this is like copycat recipes. You can do it. It tastes delicious, but it's not the same. It's totally different. So Starbucks has special syrups custom made for them, shipped to them, and you can't replicate that. So, I mean, you could get close, and I think what she's making is probably more delicious and healthy for you anyway, like as healthy as sugar and coffee can be, but it's not the same. So don't let her fool you. It's not her taking revenge. It's just rage bait and people supporting her because, like, yeah, stick it to the man. Starbucks sucks. She's just coasting on the I hate Starbucks boat like ride that's happening right now. But that's not actually the real recipe, guys. That's on the, hold on, I could even find it. Right, so this is the copycat.com. They have a lot of Starbucks recipe copies, but they're not a one-to-one. They're not actually the recipe because, again, you can't copy Starbucks' recipes verbatim because they have special syrups sent to them and special coffee espresso that they have in their own coffee roasters, like Starbucks exclusive coffee roasters that make their espresso. They have exclusive syrups, recipes that's made especially for them. The only thing not exclusively for Starbucks is milk. Okay, so the copycat recipes right here, it's just brown sugar. They have some sugar, but brown sugar, vanilla, and almond, and butter if you want that delicious buttery cookie. You can make this, but it's not the real recipe.
Realize that some people might think that this is the recipe that Starbucks uses. They don't. Starbucks doesn't make anything themselves. It all comes pre-made. It's all super artificial. This is like the homemade, much better version of what they make. That's why everything you get at Starbucks tastes like a candle. Here's my sugar cookie latte.
But do they look the same? After this girl got fired.
I don't know. People really like Starbucks, or else there wouldn't be so many of them out in the world. Yes, but she's right. It's not like I said. All the syrups are made especially for them. Everything is exclusively Starbucks. They never made their own syrups. The machines do all the work for you. You don't even need to calibrate the espresso machines or anything. But yeah, how about just have like a good coffee recipe without having to like virtue signal that you hate Starbucks, or like, I guess she doesn't care.
An asteroid might hit the moon, and we might have to nuke it before it does.
Whoa,
I'm serious. So
cool.
earlier this year, we thought that...
That's really neat. So we're gonna blow up an asteroid like Armageddon. But instead of us, it'll be the moon. Yeah, but I can't imagine. If it hits the moon, that would just throw it off orbit, or possibly have shrapnel spread out as it hit us. I don't know. It sounds pretty epic. I'm kind of excited. Let's...
This asteroid might hit Earth. Good news, it won't. Bad news, it might now hit the moon, which is very bad news because this asteroid is the size of a 15-story building. And estimates say that an impact with the moon could cause a big cloud of debris around Earth. So,
that's what I thought.
NASA just came out with a real proposal for what we could do if a lunar impact becomes more likely. Option 1, we could smash a spacecraft into it, hoping to nudge it off its course. The problem is we only have 7 years, and for this to work, the nudge has to be done far enough in advance that it misses the moon. And you really don't want to nudge it into Earth. So NASA says that deflecting this one seems impractical. Option 2, we blow it apart. They call this robust disruption. We don't exactly know how big or how dense this asteroid is, so based on our estimates, NASA suggests that we use a 1 megaton bomb. And that looks like a very serious best option right now. The next time we'll see this asteroid will be in February with the James Webb Space Telescope, and that'll refine our...
I can't wait till February. I want to see this. This is crazy. If we hit this asteroid far enough in advance, where does all the debris go? Does it get absorbed into some planetary orbits? Will it still try like all little shards hit the moon? Will we get any of it? Like, how far away does it have to be for it to not impact us at all? And how early in advance can we actually attack? It says 7 years, but how much time is that really in relation to inevitable? I don't know. I guess it's something to worry about. That's future Jojo's problem. The 7-year plan. That means I gotta make all my plans 5 years to make sure it happens. Aww, Joy! Look at that leaping puppy. Oh, so excited. What? Gotcha.
Hello.
Oh, this giant spider. You scare him. His eyes though at the end. That was intense. Oh my gosh. Look at them shuffle. Look at them shuffle. That kitty cat is the cutest kitty cat I've ever seen. Oh my gosh, they don't look real. How cute. I want a cat now. It is the most traumatizing experience to have a different texture than what you're expecting. I agree. I just did that a moment. I had some potato chips the other day, and I bit into a handful, and I felt grit like sand, and I was just like, yeah, relatable. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. What? Oh wow. It's a 2D cafe? That's so cute! Oh my gosh, it looks like you're in a drawing. This is clever. See, this is the type of innovation that we need. Like, if you're gonna have a gimmick... I wish gimmick restaurants would come back. I wish. Like, Japan's still running off the gimmicks, and I love it. I wish we brought that energy back to the States. I guess you call them theme. So we got theme restaurants. Coolest restaurant in town. What's this? Coolest restaurant in town. It has a little... Ooh, it has a little train. Oh, and it has... Wow! That's cool. You have no servers, though. Your little train is the server. That's adorable. And it just drops down each meal... whatever platform it's supposed to go on. Interesting.
Japanese guy opened a Trump-themed restaurant in Texas with the most insane menu that includes a bland Biden burger priced at $51 and a Kamala burger that's never even available. This place obviously gives off political rally vibes with MAGA gear everywhere. But here's the twist. The owner overstayed his visa and allegedly...
Wow. So this guy, who's Lebanese, I guess, and was here on a visa, overstayed his visa. Did he think that just because he was like promoting or exploiting, he's not promoting, he's exploiting Trumpomania. All these MAGA people, especially Texas, we're gonna have a lot. Like, he's just making a profit. It has nothing to do with what he actually believes in. It has everything to do with good marketing. He got deported, I guess, is what he's saying.
used a sham marriage, so now ICE is on his case. Dumb restaurant ideas you'll only find...
Dumb restaurant ideas.
In 2020, a Trump-themed restaurant opened in Texas
Oh,
where the
here it is
craziest
again.
item is surprisingly a Biden burger. And that's because Trump Burger is far from a normal restaurant, with guests immediately greeted by walls covered in Trump photos, MAGA flags, and even a booth to buy his merch. But the craziest part was the menu, because when guests stepped up to order their food, they could choose from options like the Trump Tower Burger and First Lady Sandwich. But there is also the Biden Burger, which unlike the other options that came with large servings at a reasonable price, the Biden Burger came with 1 ounce of beef, an expired tomato, and their oldest buns and stock, all for the massive price of $51. Would you visit? In 2020, a Trump-themed...
Someone bought it. Alright, I think I'm done for the day. I don't know, my brain's kind of fried. So I guess it's over. Have a beautiful day. Nothing really was said or done, which is fine. Bye.